Lorenzo Nichols is accused of running the biggest crack operation in Queens and perhaps the city.
And although he took orders from Fat Cat for a time, Pappy had decided he was his own boss. And it was he who arranged for Byrne's killing.
The sources who are familiar with the case say Mason thought murdering a New York City cop would please his friend Nichols because Nichols was angry over receiving a 25-year sentence on the weapons charges just the day before. The sources say that the murder, in fact, angered Nichols because he believes that was the event that brought down the full weight of both the state and federal governments on his organization, his family, and ultimately himself.
That changed a lot of lives. It changed the lives of the Byrne family. It changed the life of those in the street, and it changed my life. After the killing of Edward Byrne, that whole lifestyle of hustling, definitely selling drugs, was completely obliterated, if you ask me. I'm not saying it didn't stop. I'm saying that it stopped for 150th Street.
But as far as the Ed Byrne's, I thought that was a tragedy. I would never condone such a detrimental act. That was a big disaster right there. Because it fucked up everybody's money. Once they started moving everybody, that's when things just started going in different directions all over the place. It fucked up everything.
At that point, you knew that a major shift was happening, that everything was going to be shut down. It would never be the same.
In the late 1970s and early 1980s, South Jamaica, Queens, anchored by the Baisley Park and South Jamaica houses, became ground zero for New York City's crack epidemic. Once a middle-class neighborhood, it devolved under economic decline and drug infiltration, turning into a battlefield among emerging street gangs and crack kingpins. Within those housing projects, street legends were born: Fat Cat Nichols, Pappy Mason, and Supreme McGriff. Names that ruled the Queens drug trade. Born December 25, 1958 in Bessemer, Alabama, Lorenzo Fat Cat Nichols migrated to South Jamaica as a youth. With a linebacker's build and commanding presence, he ran Big Mac's Deli, a shop inherited from his father-in-law, as his headquarters. By the mid-1980s, Nichols controlled entire blocks around 150th Street and Baisley Park, overseeing heroin and crack distribution that reportedly earned $20 million annually at its height. Despite a 9th grade education, Nichols built a disciplined criminal organization. His operations relied on rigid surveillance, enforcers, and loyal lieutenants. When rivals tried to test him, retribution followed swiftly, sometimes lethal. Howard Pappy Mason, born September 8, 1959 in Brooklyn, rose through loyalty to Nichols. He began guarding Fat Cat's corners for $1,000 weekly, earning respect for his vicious discipline. Eventually, Mason founded his own crew, the Bebos, Boss Empire Boys, and expanded operations across Queens. At its peak, the Bebos netted $200,000 per month in pure profit. Mason's notoriety exploded on February 26, 1988. From his jail cell, he was incarcerated for a parole violation. Mason ordered the assassination of rookie NYPD officer Edward Byrne, who was guarding a witness in South Jamaica. Byrne was shot execution-style from a vehicle. His murder galvanized national outrage and forced the city to escalate its war on drugs. Born September 19, 1960, McGriff grew up in Baisley Park houses. He joined the 5% Nation, earning the community nickname The Supreme. Through a connection to Fat Cat's circle, via cousin Rashim, McGriff started his own organization, the Supreme Team, which ballooned to 150 to 200 members. By the mid-1980s, the Supreme Team controlled crack distribution out of Baisley Park, handling over $200,000 per day in sales. McGriff centralized sales, recruited youth as lookout scouts, and deployed walkie-talkies across rooftops. His operation was militarized. If police approached, enforcers shouted alerts, drug bundles were hidden, and ceilings were crushed. Outsiders called him the first Queens dealer to run his corner like a CEO. Fat Cat, Supreme, and Pappy formed a loose network sometimes called the South Jamaica Roundtable. Each man controlled different zones to minimize conflict. Nichols ruled the 150th Street corridor, McGriff held Baisley Park, and Mason operated as Nichols' trusted security head until splitting off. Together, they dominated Queens' heroin and crack markets. The drugs moved through coded check-ins, blind drops in stairwells, encrypted pagiers, and youth lookouts. Collecting cash was done via front businesses and trusted couriers, often eviction-proof numbers that nobody linked to. As their profits surged, violence followed. In May 1988, Fat Cat's sister, Mary Nichols, who was wheelchair-bound, was killed when unknown gunmen firebombed the family home. 16 bullets were fired into the house. Mary died in her bed. Investigators believe the attack was retaliation or a warning amid rising turf tension. In June 1988, police tactics escalated. Mayor Koch formed the Tactical Narcotics Team, TNT, concentrating state and federal anti-drug forces on South Jamaica. The area, once foot-heavy with dealers, became one of NYPD's highest arrest zones. The killing of Officer Byrne marked a turning point. A federal joint task force intensified surveillance, wiretapped phones, and traced coded language among BBOs and Supreme Team members. Crucial evidence, visitation logs, phone intercepts, and paid-off witnesses began to build a legal case far beyond state narcotics violations. By December 1989, Pappy Mason was convicted in state court of murder in aid of racketeering, receiving a life sentence without parole. State authorities called the decision landmark, a statement that a rookie cop's death would not go unanswered. That same year, Lorenzo Fat Cat Nichols was charged at both state and federal levels. In 1992, he pled guilty to racketeering and ordering murders, including his ex-girlfriend and his parole officer, Brian Rooney, and received a concurrent 25 to life state sentence plus 40 years federal time. After serving roughly 7 years on a 12-year sentence, Kenneth McGriff returned to Queens in 1994. He rebuilt the Supreme Team aggressively, restructuring corner operations and reactivating security protocols. By 2001, they had resumed violent hit teams, ordered hits in Harlem and Queens on rapper E-Moneybags and rival Troy Singleton. These hits and undercover evidence led to his federal indictment. In 2007, McGriff was convicted of racketeering, murder for hire, drug trafficking, and money laundering. Facing the death penalty, the jury deadlocked on capital sentencing. He was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Once Nichols, Mason, and McGriff were removed from the streets, their empires began unraveling. The Supreme Team and BBOs fragmented, corner control splintered, and smaller crews ignited turf wars. Queens' homicide rates spiked as the power